Good evening, everybody. I am Jim Baird. I am one of your local emergency room doctors. I might have taken care of some of you, might have taken care of some of your loved ones. My goal here, and I'm going to keep it brief as well, I'm here to tell you that this epidemic is real, and it's in your backyard. I work in the emergency room that's 10 minutes down the road from here, and it's as bad as it gets. I will go with Cody, thank you for that, that every municipality needs not only a resource center, but they need a Michelle Perez. We wouldn't be able to do a lot, and I certainly wouldn't be able to do everything that I can do without her. So Michelle, love you. You heard it, 175 people every day from a drug overdose. Someone dies every 8.5 minutes in this country from a drug overdose. The majority of those drug overdoses are opioids, over 60%. Stop telling me what to do. For every one fatal drug overdose in the U.S., there's about 30 overdoses that are non-fatal. I think that number is actually a little bit small. I think it's probably double that. I think for every one person who dies from an overdose, there's got to be at least 50 or 60 people who either had an overdose that was reversed or they made it through. In 2015 and 16, drug overdoses killed more people than AIDS when it was at its worst in 1995. In 2015, more deaths from heroin overdoses alone than firearm homicides. 1,000 people a day wind up in an ER due to misuse of prescription opioids. High school seniors, 1 in 12 of you are using Vicodin. 1 in 20 are using Oxycontin. 1 in 4 people who use opioid painkillers get addicted to them. That's from the CDC. That was just released. What is an opioid? For a lot of you out there who don't know what an opioid is, this is a prescription opioid which can be prescribed by doctors for moderate or severe pain. Oxycodone, the brand name is Oxycontin. Hydrocodone, the brand name Vicodin, morphine, methadone, these are all opioids. Fentanyl is an opioid. Also a painkiller, can be prescribed by your doctor. It can be administered to you while you're in the hospital if you're having major trauma. It's also illegally made and distributed. The difference, if I prescribe you fentanyl, it's 25, 50 micrograms. What's on the street is about 1,000 micrograms, which is why it's killing people. Heroin is an opioid, and its use is going up. Men, women, all age groups, all income levels. You heard it from Jim Jefferson, 80-year-old overdose. Me personally, youngest was 9 years old, oldest was 91 years old, given Narcan. Right down the street in my ER. This is what it looks like together. This is the death toll from 2000 all the way to 2016. Look at the sharp rise right here. And you can see what fentanyl is doing. Fentanyl, up until about 2014, wasn't around. The synthetics came out, and by far it's killing more people than heroin alone or the prescription opioids. What is addiction? I want to teach you, if you don't understand what addiction is, in basic terms. People with addiction, this is what we call substance use disorder. They have this intense focus on using a certain substance, alcohol, drugs, to the point where it completely takes over their life. They keep using the alcohol, the drugs, even when they know it causes them problems. Dependence. All right, this is sort of a terminology difference here. Some people say you're dependent on it, you're addicted to it. Dependence is different. Dependence is purely physical. This is when your body gets used to a constant exposure to a drug. Your body changes, it morphs, and it gets used to the drug. Caffeine. You drink 5 cups of coffee a day. You don't drink it the next day, what happens? You get irritable, you get a headache, because you're dependent on caffeine. Your body is literally physically used to it. Dependence is a physical part of addiction. So what is addiction? Your brain, the brain's wiring is completely changed. This is what causes people to have these intense cravings for the drug that make it hard to stop. Brain imaging studies, which I'm going to show you pictures in a little bit, affect the areas that are related to judgment, decision-making, learning, memory, and behavior. People with addictive disorders, they may be aware of their problem, but they're unable to stop, even if they know it's going to cause them harm. So look at this. Normal brain over here. Someone who uses methamphetamines or meth, look at the difference. Even if you could just see and compare. See the redness here, not here. Someone who's 14 months clean, abstinent, it's starting to come back to normal. But the effects, these little holes in the brain, are there and they're permanent. Normal brain, someone who uses cocaine, someone who's addicted to food, obesity. You ever watch that show, My 600-Pound Life or whatever it's called? These people are addicted to food. It's a chronic, relapsing brain disease characterized by compulsive drug-seeking use despite harmful consequences. It's an overwhelming need to use a drug. You know you can't do it. You know it's wrong. You can't stop. It is long-lasting. It is forever. And it can return even after you've been improved, clean, sober. And it can be to anything: alcohol, marijuana, PCP, inhalants, opioids, sedatives, cocaine, tobacco, caffeine, food, anything. What happens if someone has an addiction? Again, it's this intense need. It can cause a person, and it will cause a person, to commit a crime. Whatever they can do to get that substance into their body. To the addicted brain, obtaining and taking drugs literally feels like life and death. It's that initial fight or flight response. You got to get it or you're going to die. So you're prescribed something. What are my chances of becoming addicted? I will tell you that the longer that you were on something, the higher your risk of getting addicted. I don't have a specific number for you. If you misuse painkillers, if you exceed the dosage, if you take them more often than instructed, even if you take one pill, you could become addicted in the same way someone uses heroin or someone becomes addicted to heroin. What are your chances? A one-day supply of an initial opioid, so you've never had them before. You have a 6% chance of being on an opioid for a year or longer. If you hit 5 days, that's when it starts going way up. There's a sharp increase of your chances of being on these for an extended period of time. A 10-day prescription, there's 1 in 5 patients that will be on these long-term for years. 30 days of an initial supply, there's a chance you're going to be on them in a year, about 45%. 30 days, if you're on them chronically, if you're getting multiple prescriptions, if you're getting refills over time, there's a 30% chance that you're going to be on these for a year, a 20% chance you're going to be on these for 3 years or more. Why is that important? Because that caused this opioid epidemic. We didn't know this before. This just came out. There's a huge study released by the CDC where they looked into that. If you're on these for longer, if you become addicted to these prescription opioids, where do you get them from? Well, here you go. When you initially start, you can't see these graphs, but just notice the gray graph here. This is given to you by a friend or a relative for free. The purple and the brown, these are either you bought them or you stole them. So 3/4 of the time, somebody who has them in their medicine cabinets are either giving them to you, selling them to you, or you stole it from them. If you've been on these and you've been addicted to these for anywhere from 2/3 to a full year, look how the graph changes. You're not really getting them from your friend. You're being prescribed them by more than one doctor. So now you're going to multiple ERs, you're going to multiple doctors, and you're getting these pills. You're stealing them from everybody. You're no longer giving them for recreational use. The one argument, and this is the one that hurts me the most, is why are you trying to help these people? They're just going to relapse again. So what? It's no different than if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or asthma. The chances of you relapsing from a drug addiction are the same as any of the other major diseases in this country. But it's that stigma that we talk about. Why are we doing any of this? You spend $1 on treatment, you save $4 in healthcare costs, you save $7 in criminal justice costs. If you invest $1 in mental health care and treatment, you get $3 to $5 new economic contributions, and you're adding years of life expectancy to this great country and to your community. What are we ultimately trying to do? Get people back to productive work, take care of your families, contribute to your communities, and avoid the criminal justice system. The medical community, I think, has all the responsibility in the world to fix the problem. But if you want to look at how the problem got there, the medical community was a big part of it, but they weren't the only part of it. Yes, we no longer need to cure pain. We need to change society's culture that there is an element of pain that you have to live with, okay? Pain scores, 0 to 10. 10 is the worst pain you ever felt, 0 is no pain at all. Our goal is not to get you to 0. From the late 80s up until about 3 years ago, all right, the whole goal was to get you to a pain score of 0. We had to cure pain. It was the journey to cure pain, I call it. We can't do that anymore. So we're pulling back. This is a major problem as well, because we don't want to drive people. We can't cut people off, because you're going to drive them to heroin. You're going to drive them to use illegal drugs. That happened in one state in this country where they said, starting today, no more. And their overdose death rate quadrupled within a year. So there's a delicate balance. Number one, if you've never had an opioid before, we have to do everything possible not to expose you to opioids. Number two, if you're prescribed them, if you're on them, if you're already taking them, we have to work with you individually. You have to work with your doctor if this is right for you. If it's determined it is, then we have to monitor you very closely. Make sure you're aware of risks of overdose, of addiction. Make sure you're showing no signs of addiction. If it's not right for you, then we got to get you off. And that is on an individual basis. Thank you.